by Mr. Yuli Edelstein, Minister of Public Diplomacy and Diaspora Affairs. We are kindly asking Minister Edelstein to address the audience.
President Buzek, High Representative Ashton, Vice President of the Parliament, Mr. Cantor, the head of the European Jewish Congress, and Mr. Lauder, the head of the World Jewish Congress, survivors and rabbis, impersonified in one person by the Chief Rabbi, Rabbi Lau, members of Parliament, leaders of the European Union, leaders of Jewish communities, friends. I first of all want to thank the European Parliament, the European Jewish Congress, Yad Vashem, and those who made this important event possible. In the spring of 1939, George VI, King of England and Emperor of India, instructed his private secretary to write to British Foreign Secretary Lord Halifax, having learned that a number of Jewish refugees from different countries were getting into Palestine. The king was glad to learn that steps are being taken to prevent these people leaving their country of origin. Halifax's office telegraphed Britain's ambassador in Berlin, asking him to encourage the German government, and I quote, to check the unauthorized immigration of Jews. Today, the apologists for the king explained that he was not an anti-Semite. To prevent Jewish immigration to Palestine was an official government policy, they say. It was made with the British interest in mind, to pacify Arab-Muslim resistance to the Zionist movement. Indeed, this policy, as we know now, was a resounding success. Millions of Jews didn't escape their countries of origin, except with the smoke of the crematorium chimneys. On behalf of the many millions victims of the Holocaust, many of whom could be saved if allowed to leave Europe to Palestine or elsewhere, I would like to begin my address by asking one simple question. What have we learned? Who cares if those who have power to prevent genocide, to save lives, don't do it because they are biased or racist, or just because they are indifferent and selfish, if in the end the result is all the same? A distinction without a difference is no difference. The Holocaust did not begin with concentration camps. It began with a brick thrown through the window of a Jewish business, the desecration of a synagogue, words of hate spewed in the street. Hitler was able to carry out his plans because too many good men decided to turn their heads, to look the other way, to distance themselves from the pain and suffering of their neighbors, and to rationalize away the barbarity of racial persecution that was unraveling right before their eyes for the entire world to see. Holocaust survivor Elie Wiesel identifies one character trait as the root cause which allowed the Holocaust to occur: indifference. For only in a state of indifference are light and darkness, dusk and dawn, crime and punishment, cruelty and compassion, good and evil confused. Indifference allows you to look away from victims. It is, after all, awkward, troublesome to be involved in another person's pain and despair. For the person who is indifferent, his or her neighbors are of no consequence. When the mayor of a prosperous Swedish town of Malmö, as Mr. Cantor already mentioned, informs his Jewish citizens that he can't protect them from the anti-Semitic violence and they should leave, to what purpose shall we put all those noble words at all those Holocaust memorials? When the protocols of Zion's elders and Mein Kampf become bestsellers in Arab bookshops from Ramallah to London, and the Jewish institutions and houses of worship are targeted by the messengers of hate, Do we explain this away by the grievances and rage and blame the victims? To me, a child of Holocaust survivors and a former prisoner of conscience in the Soviet Gulag, and to my Jewish brethren in Israel and beyond, the lessons of this horrible calamity are as clear today as they were 66 years ago, when the gates of Auschwitz opened before the Red Army and the massacre ended. Jews should be united, Jews should be independent, and Jews should be armed and ready to fight. The State of Israel stands today as a guarantee that no kings, no ministers, no policies will doom the Jews again, that there always will be a gate that is open and a beacon that shines friendly. That is what never again means, ladies and gentlemen. It means lesson learned. It is 2011 now. And we are living a nightmare in which a fanatic with the mentality of a gangster, having violently subdued his own people, is relentlessly pursuing the ultimate weapon. He is threatening genocide and violence and is spreading the tentacles of conspiracy, war, and murder wherever he can. Let no one here doubt our commitment against those who openly promise today to finish what Hitler has started. We will defend our Jewish commonwealths to the final victory. But what about the lesson to the world? Not so long ago, the heart of Europe was convulsed again in the slaughter of innocents in Bosnia and Kosovo. And again, when the salvation came, it was too late for too many. In Africa, Middle East, Asia, we've been conditioned to accept as a way of life not only genocide, but poverty, disease, starvation, corruption, dictatorship, terrorism, and religious fanaticism, which shame our common humanity. And we allow this all to go on, ladies and gentlemen, in the name of politics, interests, or even misguided progressive ideology of multiculturalism and anti-colonialism, when in fact it is really all about indifference. Those, after all, are quarrels in the faraway countries between people of whom we know nothing. But today's world is really too small for the sentiment of Munich. Those who won't bother to stop the faraway genocide will have to contend with waves of desperate refugees who fear nothing and have nothing to lose. So let this grave occasion, on which we remember the day when the massacre ended and the reckoning began, be the day when we commit ourselves to the world where indifference to the crime is as abhorrent as the crime itself. Let us never accept that there is some policy goal which is more important than the saving of lives. Let us recognize that evil does exist in the world, and let us make it our common commitment to confront and defeat it wherever we'll find it. Jews, it is often said, are the canary in the coal mine of civilization. Anytime, anywhere, if you let the poison of anti-Semitism spread in the air, the inevitable explosion will soon come. In its decision to recognize the International Holocaust Memorial Day, the community of nations had recognized that the remembrance of the victims of the largest genocide in history is necessary, so its lessons will be learned and applied globally. Let us all strive to make it so. Let us build a world that is safer, freer, more just. Let us really remember.